I'm Pamela Shamshiri from Commune, and this is my friend and client and partner at Ace Hotel. Kelly Sawton is going to do this talk with me. We've done several hotels together, and we've figured out some rules about collaborating. So we're going to go over our golden rules of collaboration.
The first golden rule that Ace and Commune have come up with over the years: good intentions bring great results.
So with a directive from Ace to keep things local and give back to Los Angeles and make the project about Los Angeles, Commune embarked on setting up a narrative. Our narrative was really simple. It was, what if Mary Pickford, who had built this building in 1927, had a wild affair with Rudolf Schindler, who was a modernist and a contemporary of hers at that time, and they had a daughter named Exene Cervenka, who was from the band X. So this represented a lot of different aspects of the design for us. Obviously, Mary Pickford built this incredible Spanish colonial Gothic building with a 1,600-seat theater that you can see on the edge there. And so she represented flappers in that era of hedonism and freedom in Los Angeles. And Rudolph really, these buildings are actually cement, and it's actually a cement bunker and very spare inside, and there wasn't much history on the interior of the building when we got it. So he represented sort of this whole minimalism and other, the other counterpoint of Los Angeles in the 20s. The last bit of the love child, the LA punks from the 70s and 80s, really for us represented Ace, and the no-hold bars, irreverent outsider culture that Ace has embodied. This is the lobby. This is the restaurant space, the downstairs. This is the mezzanine of the restaurant. This is one of the hotel rooms, a typical bathroom. And this is the rooftop bar. So with a clear intention set, everyone had a narrative that they worked into. I think we had 30 to 50 artists and artisans working on this project, as well as hundreds of people on the job site. This is the theater space, which underwent a 2-year restoration, which has now become very pivotal to downtown.
So our second golden rule is allow time and space for dreaming and exploration. I think it's important for both Ace and Commune that the artists are actually part of the conceptual process.
The artists were all brought in as early as these stages. Some of them found materials, salvaged parts, and found inspiration from particular floors. It's important to make sure they're involved this early on so that it doesn't become decoration, but that it's actually a seamless part of the fabric of the project. This is what became later the rooftop bar. Okay, defining parameters from the get-go. I think if you're going to engage an artist or artisan, you need to really be very upfront about the parameters that they're working within. If it's as small as a detail in the room like this hook, I think we need to really define function. We made everything in these rooms, from the toilet paper holders to the towel holders to the desk caddies, and we make sure that the parameters are respected.
So it's important that every artist is allowed to go through their process. One of the artists that we worked with, Mike Mills, we commissioned him to do all the in-room art. And we wanted to take a different approach than we have in some of our hotels in the past. And so with Mike, he was really inspired by 1927, the year the building was built. So he dove into the history of Los Angeles in 1927, spent about 2 years researching, reading every book he could get his hands on, every documentary, and came up with a list of hundreds and hundreds of different interesting facts for what happened during that time.
On the other end of things, we had the Haas brothers, Simon and Nikki, engaged in doing several pieces at the hotel. This is the reception desk, and they had a completely mysterious and different kind of process, which involved their friends and their family. And at the very last second, they were like, oh, we got to make this quintessentially LA. So they came up with foggy palm trees, which I think was brilliant. There's 16 oil panels of these foggy palm trees that dot LA. So they had a completely different process from Mike, and we had to honor both of them.
So somebody's got to do the dirty work and make things happen. So, on a hotel project, there are a lot of different consultants and people that are involved just to get things permitted, to get things designed, produced. This is an example of the light fixture by Michael Schmidt. He's a costume and jewelry designer who's done a lot of stuff with Cher, Madonna, and Lady Gaga. We brought him in early, and as we were decommissioning some of the lights in the 1,600-person seated theater that we had, he decided to salvage some of those lights, and he spent about 2 years collecting chains up and down the coast of California and put together this chandelier, so to speak. And it required us to work with structural engineers, the lighting designers, a number of different consultants that really had to buy into this art piece and not work against us and tell us it was, too heavy and impossible to do.
Allow for a margin for error. So these are actually some collages. So we had these sort of two eras of hedonism and freedom in Los Angeles bookended, which is the flappers in the 20s at one end and the LA punks in the 70s and 80s at the other end. So some of the kids at Commune made these collages in the meeting areas. We wanted something that expressed the freedom and hedonism of these two periods in Los Angeles. And there's rubber cement, and it's not cut very perfectly, and there's crazy layers, but you can feel how much went into these collages. No one should ever work for free, ever. So we had two artists who approached us about doing altars in the theater space at ACE, and we have learned throughout the years to always pay an artist and always make sure that not only their materials are covered, but that they get a fee.
This piece was done by Kevin Willis.
He had never shown his ceramics to anyone, and we went crazy when we went to his studio. He ended up doing a lot of the votives on the roof and the restaurant, and once we settled on a materials fee, he made these 90 cats and a self-portrait of himself as Our Lady of Fingers. And if you go to the theater, you can see it right on the left as you walk in. On the other end of the spectrum was Nikki and Simon's mother, who was an ex-opera singer, and her name is Emily Tracy, and we were thrilled when she offered to do an altar. She takes old statues and reworks them and came in and did this beautiful piece, which is in the downstairs women's bathroom lobby. Check your ego at the door. This is a big one. And this applies not only to us as designers, but also the artists that we're working with. This is Alma Allen, who Commune has worked with for almost 10 years now. He's always been a part of every project we've done. He's really an artist and not a furniture maker, and we treat him as such. We settled on pencil wood for these pieces, and we gave him heights, and he went to town. No agents or lawyers in the studio. This is another big one that should have been earlier. Simon and Nikki, we would have never gotten them going through their agents. It would have never worked out for this project, so we went right to them. They did all these graphite pencil drawings in the lobby and in the restaurant that are sort of a pictorial and cultural essay on Los Angeles. So it's everything from the Hollywood Hills to Diane Keaton. We have Tom Bradley represented. But had there been lawyers or agents involved, we would have never been able to use these likenesses, and this would have never happened.
So bad timing's a killer. I think we were really fortunate with this project specifically. The theater had been owned by Reverend Dr. Gene Scott. He had basically run his congregation out of this theater, and so this really beautiful, ornate 1927 historic theater was preserved. So when we started working with Commune on the project, they came in and preserved a lot of the things that were in the theater.
I think we all knew to fight for extra time for the theater to happen. A lot of it was about deleting design elements so that you could see the ornateness of all the cast plaster, and giving proper time to lighting, cleaning, all the restoration work that had to happen. I think all in all, Kelly and I were so fortunate to have companies that are not about authorship or one voice or one star, but about many voices layered together to tell a story and create an experience. And we feel very fortunate to be in the design business at this time.
Thank you.